Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Birchall and welcome to Service Please. This is the show where we highlight the importance of service, as we believe that good service makes good business. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to maintain excellent customer service when expanding into new markets. Joining me is Bianca Bowen-Cuthill, Head of Customer Care and Service for Intuit Australia. She is passionate about solving customer problems and building high-performing teams, so much so that her team won the prestigious Customer Service Institute of Australia Award for Excellence in a Small Contact Centre. Welcome, Bianca. Thanks for joining us today. So the first question I wanted to ask you is, how do you move into new markets and what advice would you give anyone?
Yeah, absolutely, Carolyn. So thank you for having me. It's really important, I think, as you move into new markets with a business, that you're making sure that you're assessing the market opportunity that you're moving into. So, my background was product management. So even taking a new product to market, it's really important that as you enter a new market, that you're looking to achieve product market fit, I think, with your solution that you're actually offering, I think, first and foremost, because you can jump the gun too early, where you're actually taking that product to market too early, where it might not be right. But really, when you're looking at expanding into new markets, getting the product market fit right, I think, is critical. And then from a service sort of perspective, I think what's really important is that you're finding the right model in terms of what's going to work best for your new customers in that particular market. Don't think that just because what works in one market, you're going to take a cookie cutter approach and apply that into a brand new market. Particularly, we've got really large markets, whether it be India and Australia, two totally different markets. So I think for anyone who's entering into a new market, you've got to really know what you're getting into and really look at what's the appetite and what's the needs for the actual market and the customers in that market that you're entering into, so that you can ultimately tailor the solution, as and when you launch.
And I would imagine that would be not only for the product, but also the support and service. Both are quite different, can be quite different.
Absolutely. And I think it depends on how, what your business model ends up being. So for us at Intuit, what we do is we obviously have teams of experts on the ground. And that's really important because that allows you to get the local customs, the local nuances, and really get a local flavour for what's needed, for what those local customers actually need. So that, I think, is really, really critical, that when you're from a service organisation perspective, the customers feel that they've got a team of people on the ground who are able to help them, but then you can still enable and scale your support through obviously using, whether it be BPOs and different other partners that can help really scale the service that you're offering for your customers. And those BPOs could be co-located, they could be onshore partners, they could be offshore partners as well. But it's how do you get that balance right that I think is really key.
And how do you work with your teams to get that balance and know to expand, and that you don't just automatically double the size of your team because you're entering a new market?
Yeah, and I think you've got to work with finding, whether it be team members on the ground or whether it be an offshore partner that's willing to grow with you at a rate that you basically forecast your growth for. Because I agree, I think in some ways I would caution businesses to grow more slowly or more at a pace that makes sense with their business from an economic standpoint. Because you're right, nobody wants to be telling team members that they don't have roles 12 months, 6 months, 12 months now. So I would actually be looking for partnership on the ground, whether it be through a BPO or your actual local team, where you're just going to scale your growth organically in terms of how it makes sense. And really, when you think through that, does that mean that you add 3 headcount once a quarter? Does it mean you add 10 headcount every 6 months? Knowing that you can gradually increase the number of team members on the ground or through an onshore partner, through a partner, just makes more sense, rather than going, right, we need 50 people and bang, parachuting them in. That I don't think is necessarily sustainable growth for anybody.
It's harder to train also, isn't it, 50 people in one go?
Absolutely, because what you're doing is by building that expert team locally, and this is something that we do at Intuit, you build that expert team locally and get them really on the ground, they're connecting with the customers, they know what the needs are of the customers. They then ultimately become the experts who then go on to train the next batch of people who are obviously joining the team as you go to that next sort of ring of growth.
Now, one of the things you talked about in your previous episode is that you like to empower your team to take care of things themselves and do what they feel is right in supporting your customers. How do you do that with offshore teams in countries like the Philippines and India, where traditionally that's not the way they usually work? It's usually quite scripted.
Absolutely. What I've found's worked really well for the Australian business is firstly partnering with a BPO or a partner who has shared values. So particularly
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.